Hello everyone, today we're going to make an AI follower spline. All I'm doing is starting a new project for this tutorial with a top-down project selected, and I'll just name this spline tutorial, and we'll create the project. Once that's loaded up, the first thing that we're going to want to do is open up our blueprints. We're going to duplicate this top-down character and we'll call it base_AI. The next thing we need to do is create a blueprint actor, and we'll call this BP_spline. And the next blueprint we need to create under all classes is an AI controller. And that should be all the blueprints that you need to create. I'll name that my AI controller. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is the spline. Open that up, we'll add a spline component. And that is literally it. We can save that. We rename that to, I call it spline path. We'll compile and save that, leave that. The next thing we'll do is open up our top-down character. We will go to the mesh, remove the mesh. So we're only having a top-down view, and the next thing we'll do with our spring arm, we'll just change that to about 2500, so we're right above. We can see the mesh running around. So we'll close that off. That should be it for the top-down character. We'll go into the base AI. The first thing that we need to do is come over here and change our auto-possess AI to placed in world or spawn. And the next thing is AI controller class. We're going to change it to the my AI controller that we just made. Now we can delete all this in here. It's not required. Delete the spring arms, the cameras. Compile and save. And what we need to do in here is go to event, begin play. We want to grab our character movement. From our character movement, we want to set max walk speed and hook that up. Now we can promote this to a variable, call it walk speed, drag that down here, and we'll make it instant editable and exposed on spawn. I think that default max walk speed, we'll set it at 600, make it a bit quick. And save, and we can close that off. Now all we need to do is go into our AI controller. Now off our AI controller we need to put a delay node in, 0.2 of a second. Then we need to add a sequence in. From our sequence we need to get all actors of class. And we need to find our spline that we created. BP spline, and since there'll be only one on the map, we can get that a copy of that, and we can promote that to a variable. And we'll call this spline reference. We'll place this here. Then I'll add another pin here and come over here. We're going to just create a custom event called run. Now that we have the spline, or the spline reference set, we can now start grabbing what we need from it. So the first thing we need to do is grab our spline reference, then get our spline path, spline path, and from our path we need to get our length. Okay. Then we need to get, right hand click, get our controlled pawn, which is the AI we'll be controlling, and we need to cast to base AI. We come down off that. From there we need to get our character movement, and we need to get our max walk speed. From our max walk speed and our character length, we need to divide a float by a float, and we need to promote this to a variable, and we're going to call this duration. And we're going to plug this into here. So this is pretty much getting the length of the spline, getting how fast we're walking, and it's going to give us the time, the duration time that it takes to walk that length. And then now, as we need to do up here, from 2, we can come down and type in run to run our custom event. From our custom event, we need to create a timeline first. So right hand click, and we'll type in timeline, and we'll call this the move timeline. Open that up, and we'll create a float track, and I'm going to name this alpha, and we're going to use the last keyframe, and we're going to loop it so it repeats the loop each time. And we're going to add right hand click and add a key. So the first key is going to be 0 and 0, and the next one will be 1 and 1. 1 and 1. Compile, save. You can close the timeline out and bring the timeline over here. Now we need to grab our timeline, and we need to set the play rate. Now the play rate will be our float divided by float, which is 1, divided by our duration. From that, we can grab our alpha out of our timeline. We'll promote this to a variable, and we'll call this alpha, and we'll update the timeline, and then we'll simply go move to, we'll do a move to no, not simple move. Move to location. Now for the destination that we want to move along the timeline. So we need to get our, move along our spline, sorry. We need to get our spline. From our spline, we'll get the spline path. And from that, we need to get the location and distance along the spline. And we need this set to world space. And we can plug this into our destination. And then we need these guys again, so you can highlight and go Control W to duplicate. Then we need to get spline length. There it is. From the spline length, we need to get right hand click and get a lap. And here's the alpha. So plug all those in. And that pretty much should be it. So if we compile and save this and return back to our map, from our map, we'll then, from our map, we can then go to place our spline in and go to a top-down view. So it's easier to draw the spline, and we'll click on here and then hold Alt to continue to add a new position, and then hold Alt again. We'll just do this roughly. If you can hear my phone, I'm sorry. And hold Alt. I'm going to try to bring it as close as I can just so it repeats a loop around this one area, and then we can change this back to perspective. And we can drag our base AI in, and if we press play, all should work fine. And because we have the track looped, it should be repeating. Now, it all comes down to now how fast it goes around the loop is dependent on the character's walk speed that we set exposed. So I think it should be down here, max walk speed. So if we want it slower, we'll change it to 150 and it'll take its time walking around the loop. If we want it faster, to go around it fast, very fast, we'll say 1,000. Don't go too crazy because the animations will look funny. And it'll go really quick and it'll keep running around. So any question, guys, feel free to sing out. Thanks.